Hello everyone, welcome to the courses of discourse analysis. Today we're going to talk about approaches to discourse analysis. This is our fourth lesson and this is going to be about speech act theory. So speech act theory, Austin 1962 and Searle 1969. Speech act theory was proposed by John Austin and has been developed by Searle. They believe that language is not only used to inform or to describe things. That is, we don't use just language to describe, things, but we use it to do things. Okay, to perform acts. Okay, it's not language is not only used for informing or describing, but it's also used for doing things and performing actions. So Austin 1962 observed that language is a form of action. He was especially interested in certain utterances that do not seem to communicate much information but instead serve as an action. So Austin observed some utterances in language that form an action. So these utterances, they do not just communicate information, and they do not communicate much information, but they serve as an action. A speech act is an utterance that serves a function in communication. So we're going to see. Sometimes when we perform speech acts in real life, for example, when we greet, so when you say to someone, "Hello, how are you? What are you doing? Are you okay?" So we don't really communicate here. You don't really convey something. You don't have a message or something that you convey. You just use language for the sake of greeting. This is an action. Sometimes we apologize. So when you say, for example, "I'm sorry," here, you do not state, you do not here just give a statement. You are performing an act. The act is apologizing. Or also, we have requesting. These are acts, complaining, and so on and so forth. So when we use phrases such as "I promise," "I congratulate," "I apologize," the very act of uttering the utterance is a kind of an action. The act of uttering the utterance is a kind of an action. So for example, when we say "it's too hot," what does this mean? Okay, it means turn on the air conditioner. So when you say to someone, a friend, at home or with your family or in the classroom, and the teacher, for example, says it's too hot. So what they mean here is turn on the air conditioning. This is an act. You do not just state the fact that it is hot. According to Austin, every speech that we perform has three components. In every speech, we have these three components, according to Austin. So we have locution, which refers to a prepositional statement. We have illocution, which refers to intended meaning. That's the message that we want to convey. And we have perlocution, which refers to its expected response. We're going to see these in details later. So Austin 1962 argues that speech acts are communicative behaviors. They are behaviors that communicates, used to accomplish particular purposes. Thus, language has three distinct aspects. So we have locution react, illocution react, and perlocution react. Locution react is the act of saying something. It refers to the meaningful production of sounds, words, utterances, etc. That's the words that we say, that we utter. That's the locutionary act. A locutionary act is the intended meaning, the action that is performed by speaker in uttering a sentence, the speaker's intention. Yeah. So locutionary act means to the words and to the utterance. Illocutionary act refers to the intention of the speaker, and perlocutionary act refers to the effect and importance of consequences of communicative speech acts on the feelings, thoughts, or actions of the listener or hearer, or even addressee. So Austin 1962 distinguishes between two main speech acts. We have speech acts that are referred to as performatives, others are referred to as constatives. So constatives are used to make just a statement, which can be either true or false. Constatives are declarative utterances expressing some state of affairs. For example, we say she likes pizza. Okay, it just states that this person, a woman, likes pizza. There is no performing of an action, just a statement. He is driving, a person, he is driving. So this is constative. These utterances are easily evaluated in terms of truth condition. That is, if I say, for example, if we are three people in a room and I tell you that he is eating pizza, you can just look, okay, and you see if the person is really eating pizza, then that's true. Or if the person is not eating pizza, then this is false. So this is, you can easily evaluate it or test it in terms of truth conditions, whether this is true or false in reality. Performatives, on the other hand, are used to undertake an action which is rather felicitous or infelicitous. Okay, so when we talk about constatives, that is speech acts that are used to make statements, just statements, we can talk among these constatives. I mean, we can classify them as true or false. And then we have performatives, which we can classify as felicitous or infelicitous. Performatives do not express a state of affairs, but rather are used to perform an act, such as John apologized to Mary. This is an action. Close the door. This is, for example, an order. Okay, this is also a speech act that performs an action. Okay, it does not just describe something. These acts perform action. For speech acts or performatives to happen, there should be some conditions, and those conditions need to be met. These conditions are referred to as Felicity Conditions. That's what we said. When we talk about performatives, we describe them as felicitous or infelicitous. Felicity conditions are the conditions which must be fulfilled for a speech act to be satisfactorily performed or realized. So these we are going to see the felicity conditions by Austin. So first, there must be a generally accepted procedure for successfully carrying out the speech act. So when we talk about a speech act, there should be an accepted procedure. We're going to see this. Also, the circumstances must be appropriate for the use of the speech act. So, have to remember the accepted procedure. The circumstances also should be appropriate, and the person who uses the speech act must be the appropriate person to use it in the particular context. So, for example, in a wedding ceremony, a priest may say, I now declare you husband and wife. Okay, so this means that not any person can say, I declare you as a wife and a husband. Okay, it should be a priest. The procedure must be carried out correctly and completely. That is, you use, for example, I hereby. So it has certain language, the language of that they use, for example, in the wedding in the church. Thus, the bride and the groom should reply, I do. This is also a language. You cannot say, yes, I like this man, I'm going to marry him. No, you said, I do. You have to answer, I mean, using these very specific procedures. And the marriage license must be signed. So the person must, in most circumstances, have the required thoughts, feelings, and intentions for the speech act to be felicitous. That is, the communication must be carried out by the right person in the right time at the right place. In the right time and the right place and at the right time. Okay, so you should very much remember these things. We have to remember the accepted procedure, the circumstances should be appropriate. The person who uses these speech acts should be also appropriate person. Now let's move on to Felicity Conditions that are used by Searle, 1969. According to Searle, 1969, the Felicity Conditions of an utterance are constitutive rules because they are not just something that can go right or wrong, but something which make up and define the act itself. That is, they are rules that need to be followed for the utterance to work. These constitute the particular speech act. So basically, Searle looks at these speech acts in terms of rules. There should be some rules rather than these are true or false. According to Austin, we have these conditions. We have preparatory conditions, which concern real-world prerequisites to each elocutionary act. Okay, so preparatory conditions, which concern real-world prerequisites to each elocutionary act. We have prepositional content conditions that specify restrictions on the content of the complement sentence. And then we have sincerity conditions that state the requisite beliefs, feelings, and intentions of the speaker as appropriate to each kind of action. So Searle proposes, of course in 1976, that there are 5 basic kinds of action that one can perform in speaking. So according, this is like the speech acts in Austin. He spoke of felicity and infelicity conditions, but according to Searle, he has other speech acts. He classifies them as assertive or representatives, directives, commissives, expressives, and declaratives. Okay, assertives, representatives, directives, commissives, expressives, declaratives. Assertives, which commit the speaker to the truth of the expressed proposition, expressing a belief. They include statements, descriptions, assertions, predictions, etc. So for example, when you say the earth is round, this is an assertive speech act. Okay, it's a fact. It states a fact. Chomsky didn't write about peanuts. Okay, it's also a fact. This is assertives. Descriptions, it was a sunny day. This is a descriptive. So all speech acts here that we have here. So we have assertives, in which we have which can be either statements or assertions or descriptions. We have also directives, which are attempts by the speaker to get the addressee to do something. They are speech acts that speakers use to get someone else to do something, such as requesting, questioning, ordering, expressing a wish, comments, suggestions, etc. So for example, give me a cup of coffee. Okay, make it black. Could you lend me a pen, please? Don't touch that. This is directives. Okay, it's like command. You command someone to do something. Another speech act, according to Searle, we have commissives, which commit the speakers to some future course of action. They are speech acts that the speakers use to commit themselves to some future action. They express what the speaker intends, such as promising, threatening, offering, expressing an intention, refusals, or pledges. So for example, I'll be back. This is like a promise. Okay, these are promises. I'm going to get it right next time. We will not do that. Okay, so these are commissives. The fourth speech act, according to Searle, is expressives, which expresses a psychological state. They are speech acts that state what the speaker feels, psychological state, right? So for example, expressing pleasure, pain, likes, dislikes, joy, sorrow, thank you, welcoming, apologizing, okay, congratulating. They can be caused by someone or by something the speaker does or the hearer does, but they are about the speaker's experience. I am really sorry. This is an expressive. Apologizing. Congratulations. Okay. Oh yes, mommy, great mom. So these are expressive speech acts. The last one is declaratives, which affect immediate changes in the institutional state of affairs. In other words, there are kinds of speech acts that change the world via utterances, such as excommunicating, baptizing, declaring war, uh, christening, firing from employment, abdicating. For example, you are fired, uttered by the boss to an employee. These are declaratives. The employee is thereby fired. Okay. So as you can see, you can make a difference between Searle and Austin speech acts. They're just using different labels, different way of naming the speech acts. Well, thank you very much. I just want you to know that this is a speech act theory. It is an approach to discourse analysis. We will talk about speech act theory in details when we talk about pragmatics, because it's also you can also come across these speech acts when you study pragmatics. But I didn't want to go in further details because it's just here. I'm just trying to show that the speech act theory is also an approach to discourse analysis, and they have tried to make it as precise as possible. Thank you very much, and take care.